He tried to skip the ER line and ended up with a massive ambulance bill. It was supposed to be a calm evening. I just poured myself a cup of coffee and was about to start my usual patrol when two nurses burst into the security office looking stressed. One of them said, "We need help outside. There's a man who says he can't get out of his car." I work hospital security, so situations like that aren't unusual. People come in all kinds of pain, panic, and confusion. My job is usually to keep things moving smoothly, help when I can, and stay out of the way when I can't. So I grabbed a wheelchair, radioed my partner to meet me, and went outside to find the guy. Didn't take long. Even if you didn't know where he was, you could hear him. He was sitting in his car, pressing the horn over and over, shouting that he needed help. The sound echoed through the parking lot. When we reached him, he told us he was in serious pain and couldn't move. I tried to steady him, but he brushed my hands away, saying he could manage on his own. He used the car door and the wheelchair arms to lower himself down, moaning dramatically the whole time. Once he was seated, he said, "Can you move my car to a handicap spot? I've got the sticker." I said, "Sure, no problem. We do that sometimes for patients who come in alone." I parked it near the emergency department entrance, thinking that was the end of my part in the story. Spoiler, it wasn't. About 20 minutes later, I got a message over the radio. "Hey, the guy you helped earlier? He's asking to leave." I thought maybe they meant someone else. But no, it was him. The nurses said he was complaining that the wait time was too long. Keep in mind, the ED was packed that night. People had been waiting hours to be seen. He'd been there less than half an hour. So I checked with the ED staff. Since he hadn't been triaged yet, he was technically free to go. I went to talk to him, hoping to make sure he wasn't about to do something stupid. He was sitting there, arms crossed, frowning like a child denied dessert. "I'm leaving," he said. I asked, "Are you sure? You said earlier you couldn't drive because of the pain." He just waved me off. "I'll figure it out." Fine. I got the wheelchair again and wheeled him back to his car. He was quiet most of the way, but just as we reached his parking spot, he turned to me and said, very casually, "When we get to my car, I'm gonna call an ambulance." I blinked. "Wait, what do you mean?" He replied like it was the most normal thing in the world. "I'm gonna call an ambulance. I don't like everyone inside. They're too slow. If I call 911, they'll take me straight to a room." I stared at him for a moment, making sure I wasn't misunderstanding. "So, you're going to call an ambulance from the hospital parking lot to take you to the hospital?" He shook his head. "No, to another hospital. Maybe they'll move faster there." At that point, I just nodded. I told him, "You know they might just take you back here anyway, right?" He shrugged. "Worth a try." I wasn't about to argue with him. I helped him into his car, made sure he was safe, and then left him to it. I figured he'd cool down and go back inside once he realized how ridiculous it was. But 30 minutes later, I was in the office watching the security cameras when something caught my eye. There it was, an ambulance pulling up right next to his car. I couldn't believe it. He'd actually gone through with it. On the screen, I watched the paramedics help him onto a stretcher, talk to him briefly, then load him into the ambulance. I expected them to bring him inside, but no. They turned on the lights, pulled out of the lot, and left the hospital entirely. That's when it hit me. This man had just called 911 from a hospital parking lot to go to another hospital because he didn't want to wait 20 minutes. I just sat there in silence, trying not to laugh. His car, of course, was still parked in our lot. And per hospital policy, if a car is left for too long and we confirm the owner isn't admitted, we have to report it as abandoned, which means if he didn't come back soon, his car was going to be towed. So he was now paying for an ambulance ride, likely sitting in another crowded waiting room, and might end up with a towing fee on top of it, all because he was too impatient to wait like everyone else. When I came back to work the next morning, I checked in with the day shift. Turns out, someone had picked up the car early that morning, so at least he avoided that extra fine. But I still can't stop thinking about the image of that ambulance pulling away from our lot, lights flashing, carrying a man who had just left the same emergency room he was trying to get to faster. I've seen a lot working hospital security, but watching a guy call 911 because he didn't want to wait in line at the hospital he was already at, that's a first.